Hello. Hi, Denise. Oh my goodness, I'm so tired. I know you're tired of hearing that, but I am still on Edisto time. I did a bunch of stuff today, and emptied suitcases, washed clothing, put stuff away, cooked and mopped the floors, dishes, all the stuff, all the things. I didn't get the dogs' baths today. Got to do that tomorrow and do the grooming. And my son and Gia called me and they're like, "You want to go out for dinner tomorrow night for Mother's Day?" I'm so tired. I know and I'm like, okay, but they want to go out like to where I have to be Saturday morning to go for my physical. So she said, "Well, we've got to go because she's going away on a business trip for a week and a half to Barcelona." And I go like this, Barcelona? Why won't they send you someplace nice? What a dump. We're just joking with her, right? Of course not. It's beautiful. Do you know what I'm saying? I was joking with her and I said, oh no, I know what I said. I said, Barcelona? Why wouldn't they at least make it somewhere nice? Oh my gosh. So anyway, I'll see how it goes. Because Jimmy is working with my cousin, and I don't even know if he'll be back in time to get cleaned up to go there, for dinner. So we'll see. It's going to be that or celebrating a week and a half. Oh wow. Just tired. Hi, Binky. I've been trying to get you today. So did Scooter, Gail, Denise, Linda, Binky. So anyway, I watched some Karen Reed. I looked at the Diddy stuff that was coming in. So we'll talk about that. Let's see if we can possibly get to the word cookies daily. You were at the doctor? Oh, I have to go to the doctor on Saturday. How'd it go? Okay, so let me go and let's get this party started. There's a manhunt, I guess, in Texas. For a murder suspect who cut off his ankle monitor 4 days before trial. You guys hear about this? Trevor McEwen, 32 years old. He has been added to the state's most wanted list, and a reward for his recapture is set at $30,000. He confessed to gunning down his neighbor, 35-year-old Aaron Martinez, on May 1st, 2023, when he was initially captured after a SWAT standoff. He was charged with capital murder, 4 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and murder. His trial was set to begin on May 5th, but 4 days earlier, he cut off his ankle monitor and fled. He has been released twice before after posting $2 million bonds. Greg Abbott, who's been the governor of Texas, since taking over the 4-year term from Rick Perry, called the state's bail system broken and deadly, called for emergency bail reform. So I guess, I don't know, this guy's still on the loose. Still on the loose. Let's see. Here's his picture if anybody sees him. He's on the loose. Okay. Looks like he has a napkin tied around his neck, like he's going up to the trough to feed or something. This is crazy. Okay. Trevor McEwen is exactly why Texas must fix its broken and deadly bail system, Abbott said. A violent criminal like McEwen, charged with capital murder, should never be released on our streets. That's why I made bail reform an emergency item that must pass the legislative session. I urge all Texans with information on McEwen to call the Texas Crime Stoppers hotline or submit an anonymous tip online to help law enforcement apprehend this heinous criminal. Working together, we will bring fugitives like Trevor McEwen to justice. In order to be eligible for the cash reward, tipsters should either call the Texas Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-252-8477 or submit an online tip through the Texas Department of Public Safety. So he was scheduled to appear in court on May 5th for the start of the murder trial, but he cut off his ankle monitor and he disappeared in Van Zandt County. He is facing charges of capital murder, like I said. Let's see. According to the Kaufman County Sheriff's Office, he was staying with relatives while awaiting trial. He removed his court-ordered ankle monitor at 5:33 a.m. on Monday and allegedly set the house on fire before the officers arrived. McEwen is accused of shooting and killing his neighbor, Aaron Martinez. May 1st, 2023. Investigators say he shot 35-year-old Martinez multiple times and then admitted to the murder after a SWAT standoff. So wait, when did he killed the guy on May 1st of 2023 and he disappeared on May 1st of 2025? That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, let's see. Last May, a judge refused to reduce McEwen's $2 million bond. In September, he posted that bond and was released from jail. Then a week later, he violated his terms and he was released again after posting another $2 million bond in December. Craziness, I tell you. Why'd he kill the neighbor? I don't know. Nuts. Okay. I heard there was another wrong-way crash on the Taconic Parkway, which I know that a high school coach was killed in that, and 4 others, I believe it was. Oh my gosh, Wow, twins who are 19 and missed a flight to Boston found dead on a Georgia mountain. What? The murder, there's something about the trial clerk. So, Becky Hill, Yeah, there's some information on her, so let's get that. And we were just in Murdaugh country, right? And went right through Walterboro. I am boiling. I just had the door open. Screen door. I mean the sliding glass door. She's facing perjury charges. So let me get that. Hang on. So hot. Oh, cut it out. So here's her booking photograph. Trying to make this a little bigger. There we go. And okay, I'm trying to get this. This is really aggravating me right now. Something keeps popping up in front of this stupid thing. Hold on a minute. Okay, so South Carolina authorities have charged Becky Hill for obstructing justice and misconduct during the Alex Murdaugh murder trial. All right, so she has South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, known as SLED, has charged the former Colton County Clerk of Court, Becky Hill, after investigations that span more than a year related to the high-profile double murder trial of Alex Murdaugh. SLED said it charged Mary Rebecca Becky Hill, 57, with perjury, obstructing justice, and 2 counts of misconduct in office on Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. The charges stem from the allegations that Becky Hill engaged in dishonest and illegal conduct while serving in her official capacity as clerk of court during the Alex Murdaugh murder trial and subsequent related proceedings. She wrote a book after the trial and later admitted plagiarizing portions of the book and resigned her office. She was the central figure in Murdaugh's failed attempt to get his murder conviction set aside. Murdaugh's defense team claimed that she was talking to jurors and during the trial in an attempt to influence them towards a guilty verdict. In a hearing on January 2024, the former state chief justice Jean Toll rejected that argument, saying she didn't believe Hill's comments caused the jurors to change their vote. Warrants released on May 14th alleged that on January 29th of 2024, she gave false and misleading testimony when Toll asked her, "Did you allow anyone from the press to view the sealed exhibits?" She said, "No, ma'am." Warrants go on to allege that Hill prevented, obstructed, impeded, hindered, or potentially hindered the administration of justice when she allegedly released or made available sealed evidence photos to a third party or parties in violation of South Carolina law on or about February 28th of 2023. The warrants also allege that she promoted her book behind closed doors while using her public office to promote the book for her own financial gain and in violation of her duties. SLED cited video evidence, statements, and its investigation. According to the warrants, during the period of September 1st, 2021 through March 5th, 2024, Hill requested and received $9,880.10 in financial bonuses that were paid from the Title 4D incentive funds, which were used for her own financial gain. On or about May 5th, 2024, she allegedly received a financial gift or bonus in the amount of $2,000 paid by a check from the Colton County Clerk of Court's office funds, which she used for her own financial gain. She was arraigned on Wednesday in Richland Magistrate Court and given a $50,000 personal recognizance bond with a special condition that allows her to travel out of state for work. The case will be prosecuted by the 11th Circuit Solicitor's Office. So she's in a little hot water, Becky. Okay. Let's go back here. Hold on, I just have to open this door again. I am roasting. And I want to see who's blowing up my phone. They're blowing up my phone. Okay. Okay. Are you done?
Yeah. Am I supposed to put in the leave-in conditioner in the morning or now? I just put it in right now.
Yeah, it says when your hair is damp.
So not in the morning?
Just put it in, it says, and just like...
I already did, yeah.
Yeah.
I just moved it around a little bit.
I guess if you...
What?
I guess if you needed to... did it say to put it in the morning? Okay, can I start your wash then now?
Yeah.
I'll be right there, guys.
Put detergent in it. I didn't do that yet.
Doing
Clean this out.
Huh?
Clean this out.
Okay. Careful, don't you get that, you smash it into that, it's gonna smash.
I know. So you put detergent in there?
Of course, I put detergent in there. Yeah. That's usually how you do laundry. Luke did his laundry the L
That was
way.
the first time I ever did that because I was not paying attention.
Yeah, I know. Elle did her laundry like that. Okay. Now. Back. Okay, let's get back on track. Okay. All right, so next up, let me get Karen Reed going. Okay, this is someone who was on the stand today. Let me make her a little larger. For some reason, she reminded me of Roseanne. Is it Rosanna Dana? I don't know. I don't know who it is. Okay. Set her up there. John O'Keefe. died of blunt impact injuries to the head and hypothermia, according to the medical examiner, Dr. Irini Scordi-Bello. And that's her on the stand. With the jurors, hold on one second. Oh my gosh, stop. So annoying with these stupid things that keep popping up. Okay. So, wait a second here. So they had additional, before the medical examiner, I'm going to put this up. And we'll get to that one. They had additional testimony again from the woman that was on yesterday, Maureen Hartnett. Can I let me? There. Let me get back here. She told the jurors Wednesday about the damage that she observed on the back of the SUV, that's Karen Reed's, from the broken taillight to the scratches to the chip paint, and also a dent. Prosecutors allege that Karen Reed drunkenly and deliberately rammed the vehicle into her boyfriend, police officer from Boston, John O'Keefe, while she dropped him off at a house party. And that was back on January 29th of 2022. Now, Karen Reed's defense team say that she was just a convenient outsider and that she's been framed in a vast law enforcement conspiracy. They say that O'Keefe was actually beaten after entering the party at 34 Fairview Road. That was a residence that was owned at the time by a Boston police officer. So she testified about finding an apparent hair on the back of the vehicle, noting that it didn't appear to be adhered to the vehicle in any way. The defense attorney, Robert Alessi, appeared skeptical as he questioned whether the apparent hair and glass fragments could have remained on the vehicle as it traveled between Canton and died during a blizzard on the 29th. He further noted Hartnett's analysis couldn't determine when Karen Reed's SUV was damaged. So it's possible that all that damage that you've just discussed could have existed before January 29th of 2022. She says, yes, that's possible. Let's see. Alessi also confirmed Hartnett did not conduct any analysis to determine the cause of a circular hole in the right arm of John O'Keefe's sweatshirt. So she returned for a brief redirect examination. Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan confirmed the scratches and apparent hair that Hartnett found were on the rear passenger side of Reed's vehicle, the same side as her broken taillight. He showed surveillance video of the SUV sitting in the Canton Police Department Sallyport garage, the snow coating the vehicle appearing to melt and slough off over time. Before she left the stand, Hartnett asked to correct some of her prior testimony from Wednesday. After consulting lawyers from both sides, however, Judge Beverly Canoni said declined to let her do so. Yeah, okay. Elsewhere in his cross-examination, Alessi confirmed that Hartnett didn't find sand, salt, or other debris inside the broken taillight housing she removed from Karen Reed's SUV. He asked her whether investigators tested pieces of the taillight alleged to have been found on the scene at 34 Fairview Road for biological material, like blood, semen, saliva, or skin cells, and she said the items were not tested for that. Asked if she knew the chain of custody for either the sweatshirt or t-shirt, she said she knew only the chain of custody beginning when state police detectives delivered the items to the lab. Alessi asked Hartnett if she was aware that the clothes had been on the floor of an ambulance or the floor of a hospital, but she said she didn't. Hartnett also said sifting through the debris would not be part of her analysis, adding that she did not photograph the debris and didn't know whether anyone else had. Alessi asked Hartnett whether she knew the journey, if you will, of the 2 articles of clothing before she received them. She said she did not, and she testified she doesn't know about the source of the debris. She answered a subsequent question from Alessi. She testified there might have been additional debris at the bottom of the evidence bag, though she said she shook the bag all over her lab bench to collect any remaining particles, and she displayed a photo of the evidence bag in question and had Hartnett read from the label, which indicated ex-trooper Michael Proctor collected the items on January 29th of 2022. Alessi also displayed photos of O'Keefe's sweatshirt and t-shirt, confirming Massachusetts State Police forensic scientist Maureen Hartnett scraped debris from both articles of clothing, and she explained she didn't know whether the debris came from the sweatshirt, the t-shirt, or both, as the 2 items had been placed together in an evidence bag. And that again done by Proctor. Let's see here. Okay, now let's go to Scorty Belly. So let me get the other picture we had prior. There we go. So the medical examiner told jurors that she observed hypothermic changes in John O'Keefe's body during the autopsy, or changes to the organ systems that were consistent with hypothermia. Did you consider whether Mr. O'Keefe could have died somewhere other than where the body was found and been moved and placed in the snow? Alessi asked. Did you consider that? Cannoni, there was an objection. Cannoni sustained an objection from prosecutors before the medical examiner could answer. What alternative scenarios did you look at, if any, for the cause or manner of death of Mr. O'Keefe? Scorty Belly, oh my gosh, I can't even speak tonight. Scorty Bello explained that the circumstances Alessi had asked about would fall under O'Keefe's manner of death, which she could not determine. That's not how it works, she said. I don't come up with hypothetical scenarios or how those injuries occur. Alessi later questioned whether the doctor requested alternatives to the information she received about where John O'Keefe's injuries could have occurred, and she said she didn't. Alessi asked if O'Keefe's head injuries would have knocked him unconscious almost instantaneously, and the medical examiner acknowledged it was possible, though she couldn't say how quickly John O'Keefe would have been rendered unconscious. She answered subsequent questions from Alessi. She said she didn't make any determination as to whether John O'Keefe would have been able to engage in any cognitive functions after injuring his head. They showed a photo of a laceration on the back of John O'Keefe's head. Alessi noted a mark like a letter J, which Scorbello identified as an abrasion. Alessi also highlighted the linear laceration. Assume a fall backwards on a flat, frozen ground. Would such a fall and impact present that type of pattern, or would it present a circular pattern, perhaps something like a starfish in the middle? He asked. I can say that a fall backwards could very well produce that injury, she said. Alessi pushed back, asking whether Scorbello would expect that type of laceration to result from a fall backwards on flat, frozen ground. I could, yes, she testified, and saying there's nothing inconsistent with the injury and a fall on the back of the head with a blunt surface. At Alessi's prompting, she denied seeing evidence of glass, either in the photo or during the autopsy, and she also acknowledged that there are a number of different possibilities that could have caused John O'Keefe's injuries. Canoni then had everyone take their lunch break. Lunch break. Okay, let's see here. Scorbello was able to determine John O'Keefe's cause of death. She said she was unable to reach a conclusion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to his manner of death. Defense attorney Robert Alessi stepped up for the cross-examination. He questioned her about the various sources of information when determining cause and manner of death, and the medical examiner testified she'll conduct an autopsy and also request information from the agency investigating the death. The medical examiner also confirmed that she considers information from police reports, witness statements, scene investigation. And so Alessi said, so you wouldn't want a neurosurgeon to perform an autopsy? She said no, adding that she doesn't believe a neurosurgeon would have the proper training to perform an autopsy. Later in a cross-examination, Alessi name-dropped the prosecution expert, Dr. Isaac L. Wolf, a neurosurgeon expected to weigh in on John O'Keefe's injuries. The medical examiner said she was not familiar with Wolf. Alessi also put the spotlight on former Massachusetts state trooper Michael Proctor, who led the investigation into John O'Keefe's death. Earlier this year, due to his vulgar texts about Karen Reed, O'Keefe's girlfriend and alleged killer. Karen Reed's lawyers have accused Proctor of taking part in law enforcement conspiracy to frame her, and Alessi asked the medical examiner whether Proctor informed her of his theory that John O'Keefe had been wounded in a motor vehicle collision. She confirmed that Proctor informed the medical examiner's office. Describing the wounds to John O'Keefe's face, the medical examiner noted a small laceration on his right upper eyelid, abrasions or scrapes on the left side of his nose, and some bleeding and swelling in both eyelids. She also testified about a small abrasion on O'Keefe's chest that she said was commonly seen in patients who had undergone resuscitation efforts. O'Keefe had rib fractures near his sternum, and she said, I believe those were due to resuscitation efforts. Okay. Ouch. Hold on a minute. Similarly, she confirmed that a large bruise with 2 pinpoints on the back of his right hand would be common after medical personnel have attempted to access a vein with an IV. She also described a faint scratch on the back of his left hand and a small abrasion on the outside of his right knee. The multiple abrasions on his right arm ranged in size. She answered a series of questions about wound penetration. She said she would have measured the depth of penetration if she noticed any. In O'Keefe's case, she said she measured only the wound lengths as there was no exposed fat or muscle. Brennan asked whether she had a medical opinion on how those arm wounds occurred. She said she did not. And then, prompted by Brennan, she also testified she could not say what caused the discoloration on O'Keefe's hands or the wound above his right eye. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I think I have to get a drink. I'm so hot. It's crazy. I feel like I want to pass out. Sorry, John O'Keefe's official cause of death was blunt impact injuries to the head and hypothermia. His head injuries were the primary cause of his death, though his body temperature clocked in at 80.1 degrees Fahrenheit. The medical examiner walked the jurors through O'Keefe's autopsy photos, noting an array of injuries that range from swollen eyelids to skull fractures and wounds spanning O'Keefe's right arm. Before Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan displayed the autopsy photos for the jury, Judge Beverly Cannoni warned the jurors the images may be unpleasant or graphic. Jurors seemed to study the photos intently, several of them jotting down notes. Some of O'Keefe's family and friends hung their heads as they looked on from the gallery, and one woman appeared to be sobbing. Alessi peppered the medical examiner with a few additional questions, pointed out that before he died, O'Keefe had taken omeprazole, an antacid that can be used to alleviate heartburn and the symptoms of stomach ulcers. Alessi also asked the medical examiner whether the ulcers in O'Keefe's stomach could have been due to alcohol consumption rather than hypothermia, and she confirmed it was possible. The judge dismissed the jurors for the day shortly after 3:45, telling them that Karen Reed's retrial remains on schedule. So that's that. And before we go to Diddy, I've got to get a drink. Non-alcoholic, but I need a cold drink. Hold on a moment. Please hold on a moment. See, Scooter, I can drink this here, like I crave this here, and I need this here. I wasn't feeling it at the beach. Isn't that strange? You would think it would be the opposite. Where's my straws? I can drink this so fast here, Scooter. Scooter and I were having a debate about the sparkling water. She was just downing it like there was no tomorrow. She drank all the blue raz from 2 cases. Okay. I hope they have it in my Sam's Club. I'll find out on Saturday, Scooter. That was weird because you went into the second case and drank all the blue raz. That's probably her messaging me. Okay. Moving along. Let's talk about P. Diddy. Let me get a graphic up here. Oh my gosh. I'm sweating like crazy. I don't know what the hell is wrong. Okay. P. Diddy. Oh my gosh. So, Cassie Ventura faced tense cross-examination. She came, I heard, with a dress that really showed off her pregnancy. She is pretty far along. And they had told her that the testimony would wrap up this week, but now they're saying that they intend to be conducting cross-examination until Friday afternoon, which like puts it as a redirect that she'd have to come back on Monday. Okay. Okay, so she was in the hot seat for over 9 hours, over 2 days, with the direct examination from the prosecutors, and now they're on to the, started the cross. And she is 38 years old, a pop singer, pregnant. She described in detail what happened after the 2016 assault in the Los Angeles hotel. They also showed additional footage of that where you see a man talking to Diddy, and then someone, I think it was Cassie, just coming in and out of a room or something. So what I saw had no audio, so it was a little difficult to pinpoint what was going on. But anyway, she offered the video camera footage of that Los Angeles assault offered visual proof of other alleged assaults. She acknowledged that she settled the lawsuit for $20 million and explained to the jury why she decided to speak out. I can't carry this anymore, she said. I can't carry the shame, the guilt, the way I was guided to treat people like they were disposable. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. I'm here to do the right thing. Ventura is the prosecution's star witness, and her testimony is key to the charges against Sean P. Diddy Combs. He has pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors say that Combs and his inner circle used threats, violence, drugs, bribery, arson, kidnapping, and lies to coerce Cassie Ventura and other women and another woman into participating in these drug-fueled parties known as freak-offs, and to protect his reputation. The defense acknowledged that Sean Combs has been violent with former girlfriends and has a different sex life, a different one. However, they said the women consented to these sexual arrangements and noted he was charged with racketeering and sex trafficking, not domestic violence. So we're going over Wednesday and Thursday's testimony because I didn't get to adequately cover it yesterday. The central evidence in the case has been the surveillance video of Sean Combs beating Cassie Ventura at that Los Angeles hotel in March of 2016. Cassie gave further details on what happened in the immediate aftermath. She left the hotel and took an Uber home while Sean sent her a series of text messages saying, "Call me, I got 6 kids," and claiming that he was being arrested, according to text messages that were read aloud in the court. And she wrote in one message, "I have a black eye and a fat lip. You are sick for thinking it's okay to do what you've done. Please stay far away from me." And he wrote, "If you don't pick up, you will never hear my voice again." Ventura's friend called the police, and Ventura spoke with them, but she wasn't ready to name Sean Combs. She testified, "Just in that moment, I didn't want to hurt him that way. It was just too much going on." Video of the assault was first published by CNN last year. The jury has watched surveillance video of the assault at least 6 times so far. Cassie Ventura said she suffered wounds and other medical issues from these freak-offs and from Sean Combs' assaults on her, and the jury saw some of them in real-time photos and an eyebrow scar. The jury was shown 2 selfie photos of Ventura that she said were taken on the Uber ride home from the hotel. She had a fat lip and was wearing sunglasses because she had a black eye underneath it. The hotel assault came just before Ventura was sent to attend the movie premiere for her film, The Perfect Match. Prosecutors showed the jury a photo of Ventura dressed in a gown and wearing large black sunglasses she said were to hide her black eye, and they showed a photo of Ventura and Combs at the premiere in which some of her injuries were still visible. "I had bruises on my body that weren't completely covered by the makeup. I had quite a bit of makeup on my face." In addition, Ventura showed the jury a scar in her eyebrow that she said came after Combs threw her down on the corner of a bed in 2013. Ventura sent an image of the injury to Combs that day with the text, "So you can remember." The jury also saw photos of injuries Ventura sustained from an altercation in 2011 and photos of her with a black eye that was mostly concealed by sunglasses in Jamaica in 2013 or 2014. The freak-offs and the drugs she took to endure them caused her gastrointestinal problems, mouth sores, and frequent urinary tract infections. She became heavily dependent on opiates during the relationship and eventually went to rehab, she testified. In 2023, she was having horrible flashbacks. She became suicidal, she testified. She tried to walk into traffic, but her husband stopped her. She testified as she broke down into tears. On November 16th of 2023, Ventura filed a bombshell lawsuit against Combs, alleging he assaulted, and sex trafficked her. Combs denied wrongdoing, and the two settled a lawsuit a day later, but her lawsuit set off a series of other civil suits against Sean Combs alleging wrongdoing. She said the settlement
I found this on the web for other symbols against Sean
What
Combs
the
alleged
heck?
wrongdoing. Check it out.
I didn't call her at all. In court Wednesday, she said the settlement was for $20 million. Earlier that year, Ventura had written a book about her experience with Sean Combs. She sent it to the rapper through a lawyer and told him that he could buy the rights to it for $30 million. "I wanted to be compensated for the time, the pain, the many, many years of having to fix my life. The 8-figure dollar amount is likely to be key in the defense's attempt to question Ventura's motives." In opening statements, the defense attorneys Garagos noted some of the accusers went to a civil lawyer for a money grab instead of going to law enforcement. Ventura said she sometimes fought back. She didn't fight back in the 2016 hotel assault. She testified there were other times when she did so, particularly in the beginning of their relationship. She learned that it could escalate the fight more and make it worse. Fighting back would make him more violent, make him stronger, make him want to push me harder. Said, okay. She testified that there were times when she initiated physical fights with Sean Combs, but she never saw any injuries on him afterwards. After a party at a club in Los Angeles, Sean Combs called her a SLUT or a BITCH when they got in the car, and she drunkenly punched him in the face. She said Combs then beat her and stomped on her face as she laid on the floor of the vehicle. She testified she tried to run away, but the security caught up with her and brought her into the house. She said she didn't look like herself at all, just knots and bleeding, swollen everything. I looked horrible. Combs told her that she had to sneak out of the house and go with security to stay at a hotel. She snuck into the hotel, covered up because no one could see her like that. She stayed there for over a week. She testified she didn't think it was safe for her to try to leave. She understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats that he made prior to that. The freak-off videos were used as blackmail, she said. The videos that were taken were used to threaten her and coerce her. According to her testimony, in one instance, they had an argument at the Cannes Film Festival, and on the flight home, he played videos of the freak-offs that she thought had been deleted. He told her that he was going to embarrass her and release them. He made that threat frequently, allegedly. When they landed in New York, they went to dinner, and then they had a freak-off at his request. Whatever was going to make him not be angry at me and threatening me, I was willing to do. I just didn't want to feel scared anymore, she testified, and it was the one thing he made that he made me feel like I was good at. Prosecutors showed sexually explicit still images of the freak-offs to Ventura and to the jury, but not to the media and public. One female juror let out a deep breath and rested her hand on her chest as an image was placed on the monitor before her. A male juror looked at the screen at one of the images, and his eyes appeared to move away quickly. A different male juror wrote on his notepad. Prosecutors provided binders with more than a half a dozen images from the freak-off videos to the judge and to Combs's lawyer. The photos were not put on the monitors and the lawyers' tables to avoid anyone else from seeing them. When one of the images of an escort was referenced, Sean leaned across one of his lawyers to get a better look at the images in the binder. The judge, Aaron Subramanian, earlier denied a media request to have the explicit videos and images shown in court, saying they had the potential to re-victimize the people in them. So Cassie accused Sean Diddy Combs of R-ing her in 2018 in August. They went to dinner in Malibu for what she thought was a closure conversation as she was dating her now husband at the time. Sean was playful and romantic at dinner, she recalled, and he drove her home. She paused for a long time before speaking again and said, and then he R-ed me in my living room. I just remember crying and saying no, but it was very fast. Combs shook his head no and pushed his chair back from the defense table. She was intimate with Combs voluntarily one other time. After that, she said she and Combs have had a few check-ins since they ended things in 2018, but nothing crazy check-ins. Combs lunged at Cassie with a wine opener between his fingers during a freak-off in December of 2011 when he learned she was dating Scott Mescudi, also known as rapper Kid Cudi. She testified. She managed to escape the hotel room at the time, but when she addressed it with Combs later at his house, he assaulted her again and threatened to hurt her and Kid Cudi. He told me about videos that he had that he was going to release and that he was going to hurt Scott and I. She said, adding that the videos he was referring to were of the freak-offs. Cassie Ventura said she broke up with Kid Cudi as soon after to keep them safe. Sean also told Cassie that, Kid Cudi's car would be blown up in his driveway before it happened. Sometime after the rapper's car blew up, Sean Combs, Ventura, and Kid Cudi had a meeting at the Soho house about their relationship. When Kid Cudi asked about his vehicle, Ventura testified that Sean responded, "What vehicle?" The meeting ended after that. She said she struggled to tell her mother about the abuse. She offered gut-wrenching explanations of why she wasn't able to tell the truth about her abuse to her mother for so long. After one of the assaults, she said her mother read a description of an alleged assault online that didn't include her name and reached out to see if it was about her. I didn't tell my mom the truth because I was ashamed. And I also felt like at that point, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't want to put my mother in danger of knowing anything of that magnitude. In December of 2011, after another assault, she told her mother that this was the first time Combs had physically abused her, and she didn't say anything about the freak-offs. I couldn't hurt her like that. I just wasn't there with it. I wasn't ready. And I was also just terrified. It's not normal, she said. What wasn't normal? The Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson asked. And she said, to constantly be bruised up by a person you love who says they love you. You can't justify it to anyone, especially not your mom. Okay, now let's get... The last time that Cassie Ventura and Sean saw each other was in November 2018 at the funeral of Kim Porter, the actress who had 3 children with Sean Combs. When Cassie entered the courtroom, she walked down the center aisle with her eyes facing forward, wearing a brown dress. This was the first day. She passed by the jury box. The witness stand. Combs turned around in his chair and watched her walk to her seat. She did not appear to make eye contact with him. They began dating almost 20 years ago. She met him when she was about 19. She signed a contract with his company, Bad Boy Records, in 2006, and they struck up a platonic relationship. After a boat party in Miami, their relationship became more intimate and sexual. She said, I wanted to be around Sean for the same reasons as anyone else at that time. Just this exciting, entertaining, fun guy that also happened to have my career in his hands. She said it felt special. Not a lot of people got that time with him. She said she soon fell in love with him and traveled with him everywhere like his little shadow. Over time, she began to see that he had a more controlling and abusive side. Control was everything, from the way that I looked to the way I was working on, to what I was working on that day, who I was speaking to. He had mood swings that led to physical abuse, she said. You make the wrong face, and the next thing, I was getting hit in the face. If I was a brat or something, he would let me know that I needed to fix my face or watch my mouth. If he disapproved of something she did, he directed his staff to take her belongings away. He'd also kick her out of the house or the apartment that he was paying for. She said that some of the arguments became violent. He would smash her in the head, knock her over, drag her, kick her, stomp her in the head if I was down. She suffered injuries from the abuse, including knots on her forehead, busted lips, and bruises all over her body. Asked how frequently he was physical with her, she said too frequently. Early in the relationship, Sean proposed the provocatively named freak-offs, in which he would have her have sex with another man while he took care of himself, a sort of sexual voyeurism. Each freak-off would consist of 2 to 3 sessions. Each session lasted an hour to 3 hours, and they could involve 3 or 4 different men. It's his fantasy. He was controlling the whole situation. He was directing it. The freak-offs became almost weekly. She testified they stretched out until 2017 or 2018, when she gently brought up not wanting to do them anymore. She said Combs was dismissive about that. Got to a point where she just didn't feel like she had much of a choice. She didn't really know what no could be or what no could turn into. Sean controlled a lot of my life, whether it was my career, the way I dressed, like everything. And I just didn't feel I had much say in it at the time. But being really super young, naive, and a total people pleaser, she said, I don't know if he would be upset enough to be violent, if he would just write me off or just not want to be with me at all. She testified she took all kinds of drugs provided by Combs and his staff at the freak-offs as a way of disassociating and numbing herself. At a certain point of her life, a big chunk of her life was spent recovering from taking drugs and dehydration stemming from the freak-offs. The freak-offs became a job where there was no space to do anything but to recover and to just try to feel normal again. She stoically described the acts that occurred during freak-offs, but eventually broke down when she was asked how she felt about them. She said, I felt disgusting. I felt humiliated. I didn't have the words to put together at the time about how horrible I really felt, and I couldn't talk to anyone about it. When asked what she enjoyed, if anything, about the freak-off, she broke down into tears. The time spent with him, she said. As sad as it was, I thought it was like the only time I could get. The central evidence in the trial, we talked about that, all right, about that video surveillance on 2016. She said she's not sure what happened, but she got hit by Sean and had a black eye. And at that point, all I could think about was getting out safely. The attack came after she attempted to leave a freak-off before it was over. It got violent, and I chose to leave. Sean followed me into the hallway by the elevators. He grabbed me, threw me on the ground, kicked me, tried to drag me back into the room, and he took my stuff. Ventura said she grabbed her belongings and ran out as fast as she could without putting her shoes on while he was in the shower. She said he had beat her in that same way seen on the surveillance video too many times to count. Are there occasions when you tried to fight back? No, she said. Some freak-offs were arranged across state lines. Some of the testimony touched on that role that Combs' employees and staff played in the freak-offs, a key part of the prosecution's allegation that he and his inner circle constituted a criminal enterprise. She testified that Sean Combs' staff would sometimes book the hotel rooms for the freak-offs and that Sean Combs told her which escorts to hire. Ventura said he paid them in cash and he facilitated the escorts' travel to wherever the couple was at the time. Ventura said she found the escorts online and then would show them to Combs for him to approve. Escorts were paid between $1,500 to $6,000 after the freak-offs in cash that was provided by Combs. Some of the escorts participated in freak-offs in multiple states. When she needed to fly an escort for a freak-off, Ventura would tell Combs' travel agent to arrange travel for a new staff member, she testified. At Combs's discretion, she purposely concealed the true reason for the travel request. Ventura said it was important to Sean not to have the escort's identity known. She also said that Combs's staff would provide materials such as baby oil, astrogliding condoms for the freak-offs, and when they ran out of lubricant, they'd call someone on Combs's staff or the hotel desk to bring more. Law enforcement discovered more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil in the search of Combs's house last year, and Ventura explained the product's role in the freak-offs. If he felt like you were too dry, he'd let you know. He'd say, "You're too dry, you need to put more oil on, you need to be glistening." They used about 10 large bottles of baby oil each time. At one freak-off, there was even an inflatable pool filled with baby oil. She testified, and Combs told her to get into the pool to cover herself in oil. Hotel rooms would typically be trashed after freak-offs, and many times one of Combs's staff members would go in and clean up. She said the hotels often charged Combs for the damage, and she recalled hearing staff members take calls from hotels about the damage. She said she was insanely jealous of his girlfriends. I didn't get that he was him. He was Puff Daddy, and Puff Daddy has many women. He likes the company of women. I had to just really learn that over time, despite what he would tell me just between us. He made me feel like we were in a monogamous relationship more often than not. It was really me figuring out that we were not. She said she was not the only person. No, hold on a minute. That's not what I was going to say. Okay, so let's go. That's caught up down till today. And let me get today. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, as let me see. So the prosecutor expects to question Ventura for another hour after the defense finishes the cross-examination, like I told you. So the defense asked Ventura to confirm that the baby oil was not laced with drugs. Okay, large amounts of baby oil were recovered, but she said it was not laced with drugs. Defense attorney Anna Estavio returned to the previous testimony Cassie gave about the time that Combs's rival Serge Knight was nearby, and he and his security guards quickly packed up and drove down there. The attorney pointed to a report from investigators after they met with Ventura in June of 2024, which she told them she was brought along in the car and cried. Ventura said that was incorrect. I didn't go in the car with them, she said. During her testimony yesterday, she said that Combs was a rival with Knight, the former rap mogul, who was sentenced to 28 years in prison for a fatal hit-and-run incident on the set of the movie Straight Outta Compton. She confirmed that Sean Combs overdosed on painkillers in 2012. Ventura said that on that day they had a freak-off and went to a sex club before Combs went without her to a party at the Playboy Mansion. Later that night, she took him to the hospital, where they learned he'd experienced an overdose. From what he told me, he took a very strong opiate that night, but we didn't know what was happening, so we took him to the hospital. Defense attorney Anna Estavio had asked a lengthy line of questioning to suggest that Combs was reliant on opiates and any withdrawal from them would negatively affect his mood. He was extremely dependent on opiates, right? She asked. For a time, Cassie Ventura said. He was very upset if his opiates were taken away from him, she said. I guess so, said Cassie. She detailed the side effects from the drug use. She said that in early 2017, she got very sick from drug use and began to look for help. She said, I lost all sense of smell and taste when I woke up and I had numbing in my arm. She said she experienced some dissociative side effects from ketamine use. Ventura confirmed that Sean Diddy Combs noticed some of her symptoms and suggested she see doctors. She said that she didn't tell him everything about her drug use throughout their relationship, but she added that they were both doing a lot of drugs. She described some of the times that Sean was explosive, saying he was explosive when he'd find out she was doing drugs and her friends, or took the drugs without him knowing. If we weren't getting high or if I wasn't doing it with him, it was a problem. Okay, Combs used industry clout to control Cassie Ventura's career and avoid consequences. By 2011, Ventura had only made one album, even though she signed a 10-year album deal with Combs' label Bad Boy Records. He said that while most record companies signed similar long-term deals, some albums were usually the standard. 7 albums were usually the standard. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let me just go and see what you guys are up to here. Okay, you guys are all here. Hi, Bucky Ann. Hi, Christine. Hi, Lil Lighty. Hi, Philly Farmhouse. Hi, Kato. What are you talking about? Heart Made Wise. Heart Made Wise. Philly Farmhouse he has a real weird relationship with his mom. The romantic kisses he gives her, I feel like there's a connection with his evil ways, something that happened in his childhood. Okay. Ew, he is so disgusting, said Bucky Ann. I don't know who. I don't see Kate O. Why don't I see Kate O? I see Bucky talking to Kate O, but I don't see Kate O. But Bucky said, hi, Kate O. Yes, she really did. We just talked about it recently. I'm sorry that guy died, but if not for that, who knows? They could have slipped something in a drink and gave it to her. Oh, I shudder. What are you talking about? And why don't I see Kato? There, I see Kato now, yes. Hi, Kato. Hi, Sassy Darcy. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Hi, Cammy. Okay, hi everybody. Okay, let me go back. I just want to make sure everybody was okay. Everybody's okay. So he said that the 7 albums were the industry standard, and he has said that Ventura's terms were very restricted, added that a deal like that locks you up for your career and then some. let's see here. He was one of the most powerful people in the music business in 20 some years because he was so wealthy and because he had so many people who were willing not only to do what he wanted, but were very afraid to speak out against him. Cassie Ventura testified that her friends knew that Sean Combs physically abused her sometimes, and they witnessed the abuse themselves. She said she also told her parents and brother about the abuse at different points. Actor Michael B. Jordan's name was brought up by the defense. At the time, Sean Diddy Combs was also suspicious that Cassie Ventura was starting to date Michael B. Jordan. When asked about it, she said she didn't know how Sean reacted to the news because she wasn't with him to see it. Defense attorney Anna Estavio moved on from that line of questioning without expanding on that reported relationship. Cassie Ventura explained how she broke up with Sean Combs in 2015. She testified in 2015 she broke off her relationship for a time while she was in South Africa filming a movie. She said she broke it off with him by sending a video of him with another woman at an event to a text chain with him and some of his closest staff. Ventura said she felt betrayed by them for not telling her. She also said that she blocked Combs' phone number for a time while she was filming. Okay, so her answers to questions from both the prosecution and defense are setting up the more fleshed out arguments lawyers will make over the next several weeks of the trial. The prosecution will bring experts who will likely argue that psychologically this does meet the threshold for coercion and some of her being under the thumb of Sean Combs. She said that he often brought up her relationship with Kid Cudi. Okay. Court takes steps to have Cassie Ventura's testimony conclude before the baby arrives. Combs was seen passing sticky notes to his lawyer. Okay, hang on 1 minute. I've got to put Luke's clothes in the dryer. Just let me do that because if I fall asleep, then that will not be good. That will not be good. What is this? What is this seltzer can that's floating around under my chair? Hold on a minute. Making noise. Hang on. Just take a break. Stretch your legs for a second. Hold on. I want to make sure the heat isn't flamming again. Okay. to let the sliding glass door open. All right. Okay, I'm coming back. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Okay. So by 2013, Cassie had been in a relationship with Sean Combs for about 7 years, but she still hadn't been able to form a relationship with his children. She expressed her frustration over not being able to spend time with him and his children in a July 2013 message she sent to Sean Combs, and that was shown to the jury. The message in part references other divorced celebrity couples and how they spend time together with family. The message said, and I quote, "I've been at the edge of tears this whole week. I don't think that you sympathize with my feelings. I understand you feeling like you need to protect your children, but after a while, it's like, for what? They've known you and Kim to be together. Unless there's something that I just don't know about. They were babies when we started dating." Oh, I'm so sorry. She said they've never known you and Kim to be together. Let's see. The jury took a break. Cassie testified that Sean Diddy Combs introduced her to a rapper, Kid Cudi, around 2011 so they could work on music together. That she began dating Kid when she was on a break with Combs. She testified she got a burner phone to communicate with Kid, and she didn't want Combs to find out about a relationship. "I thought it would be way too dangerous to tell him about that," she said. Ventura said Sean eventually found out about the relationship when he went through her phone during a freak-off. She said that she was still having freak-offs with Combs while they were on a break because it was a job. She said that Combs lunged at her when she found out, but he didn't make contact with her. Let's see. Women on social media would often claim to have a relationship with Sean Combs, said Cassie Ventura. It happened often enough that I don't know I would remember every single one of them, she said. The defense attorney, Anna Estavio, asked if Ventura would react when she saw Combs with other women. "Yes, mainly Gina," Ventura responded. She confirmed that a woman called Gina was the main problem in their relationship. The defense is using the text to characterize Ventura as a consenting adult. Sean Diddy Combs' defense attorney Anna Estavio has spent the day questioning the prosecution's star witness Cassie Ventura with a focus on certain text messages. A big part of the case is trying to get this jury to believe that Cassie Ventura was a consenting adult in these sex acts, these freak-offs that we've heard so much about. So Ventura admitted she felt some jealousy of Combs' former partner, Kim Porter. Ventura said that she had some jealousy of Miss Porter, referring to Kim Porter. She confirmed that it would upset her when Combs would spend holidays with his family and Porter, even though the two were no longer in a romantic relationship. Ventura also testified that she learned Combs was spending time with a woman named Gina. "I was really upset," she testified. She said Combs denied the relationship to an extent, but added that she and Combs argued multiple times about him getting back together with Gina. She said they also argued about Combs and about other women. Let's see. The defense read text from Sean Combs to Cassie Ventura in which he wrote about a surprise package coming from out of state. The jury saw the messages from Sean Combs to Cassie, planning and preparing for a freak-off. In an exchange from 2017, Combs told Ventura that he was making plans for a freak-off. There was many messages about freak-offs presented to the jury. The defense is trying to paint the picture of a more complicated relationship between Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura. Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so much crap. That's the end for that. And now we're going to try to see if we can get at least one word cookie daily, and we haven't done anything. We're going to try the one word cookie daily and see if we can get it in. We're trying to get back on track here. I'm just absolutely exhausted. Come on. Oh, thirst. That's what I have tonight, right? And thirsts. And this. And shirt. And shirts. And okay. Okay, and let's see. Okay, let's see. I got that all by myself. Let's see if any of you have this last word so I can go to bed. I can't even think anymore. Does anybody have the last word? I can't even. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Wait till tomorrow, the next girl testifying, really. Yeah, that's crazy, Philly, that he blew up the car, isn't that? Does anybody have this last one right here? I got it, thank you. All right, everybody. I'm going to bed. Good night. Thank you so much for watching. And see you tomorrow. God bless. Be good. I have to go to sleep.